And I am going to call this meeting to order. For the Maple Run Unified School District Board of Directors, it is February 21st at 2020, February 21st, 2024, and at 6 p.m. First item on the agenda is the agenda review. Are there any revisions requested or necessary? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me for a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, so we have sort of a two-part visitor section here. First, we have our regular visitor section for public comment, and then we are going to hold the budget forum right after that, and that'll be an opportunity for those who wish to ask questions related to the budget, and there will be someone here that will be able to answer the question or provide an answer for you in a short time. So let's do the regular visitor part first. Are there any persons in the room or online that want to speak not related to the budget? I'm not seeing anyone. Anyone? No one online and no one in the room. Okay, so I'm going to close the public comment visitor section of tonight's agenda. And I'm going to move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is the budget forum. First, we want to show a short video about the school and the budget. Then we'll open up the floor for questions, Q&A period. So I don't know who's running the video, but take it away.
Unified School District's 2024-2025 budget presentation. In this presentation, we plan to give you an overview of the district, talk to you about our newly adopted district goals, and the budget that the board is proposing to support the achievement of those goals. We're fortunate in Maple Run to have an excellent team governing our district. It is made up of 10 directors from all 3 towns. There are 4 directors from St. Albans City, 4 from St. Albans Town, and 2 from Fairfield. The 2 Fairfield representatives each have a half vote, so we have a total of 9 votes for the entire board. This board has worked very well as a team, and there are 5 of them up for re-election in this year's annual meeting and town meeting in March. All video portions of this presentation were produced at Maple Run Schools with the assistance of our students. The Maple Run Unified School District is where inquiring minds, compassionate hearts, creative expression, healthy lives, and service to the community develop so that all can learn, achieve, and succeed. The Maple Run Unified School District consists of 2,727 students and 584 staff members spread across 6 campuses. Our schools serve the pre-K through 12th grade population and provide career training through our adult education programs. Last year, we worked directly with our community to learn what they wanted for our school system. After numerous listening sessions, our school board adopted the following goals: rigorous academics and expectations, consistent policies to address bias and behavior issues, support services for students and families, opportunities for family and community engagement, and community education and action on inclusion. The vision that came from our work with the community is that Maple Run has a culture of excellence. People rise to high expectations to meet them. All students feel challenged and supported to excel in tradition and non-traditional learning opportunities based on their individual needs and strengths. Staff feel supported in their professional and work-life balance to be their best self for students. MRUSD staff have opportunities and expectations to collaborate across schools and grade levels so that there are shared learning about best practices. As a result, all Maple Run students will be aware of and have access to high-quality learning opportunities. The video you're about to see is a great example of how we're starting to achieve this goal.
So one thing that I really take advantage of is that we have a whole bunch of AP classes. Throughout my time here, I've taken 7.
I would argue that it's the thinking skills that we're teaching kids that is the most rigorous part about what we're doing.
I'm getting a lot of college credit before I graduate, which is really nice and really helpful. I think that the relationships that you can build with teachers is really great. Just the care that teachers put into their work really shows.
I look forward to my classes because I'm taking a really well-rounded schedule with a lot of classes that I'm interested in, mainly focused in science and math, because that's what I want to do. And I'm lucky to have the opportunity to take those fun classes.
We have a district-wide procedure on harassment and discipline that are consistently applied and supported and respect victims and all involved. The procedures include systems of tracking, communicating, reporting, and addressing harassment and bias. The Maple Run community, including parents, students, and educators, and the wider community has a clear understanding of what harassment and bias are, the impact, and the consequences, as well as the skills to address it. In our next video, you'll see our progress on this goal as well.
I put a pretty significant focus on restorative practices because it has a lot to do with developing relationships and understanding individual kids.
The middle school does weekly circles on Wednesdays to build that community and also offer opportunity for when any adversity arises to be able to address it in a way that is safe for everybody and is able to repair the harm that has been caused.
Having those solid relationships sort of gives us the greater power to be able to interact effectively with helping them get through those problems and whatever those problems are. Whether it's a problem they're having at home and it's affecting them here at school, or a problem they're having with a student, another student here at school, we're better able to work with kids. And that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of energy.
In this next coming video, you will see how all students at all schools have access to individualized learning opportunities and flexible pathways, be it college preparatory, traditional, or customized pathways. The community, including students, parents, teachers, staff, and others, have easily accessible, seamless, and coordinated information on available services in the schools or in the community. They know and can share how to access these services to better support every student.
Every teacher I have had, I felt comfortable going to and talking to about something that's like been wrong. And then even past teachers, I'll still go see them now just to catch up and kind of tell them where I'm at.
It's just kind of essential for kids to feel supported and have the resources to seek help and have the people that are surrounding them to have the resources to know how to help them.
My guidance counselor reaches out to me regularly just to check in and see where I'm at and schedule regular meetings. And the teachers, it is really easy to get along with them and develop some sort of personal relationship.
One thing that I've always felt like I benefited from is group learning and hands-on learning. So if there was a way that I could incorporate that into every class rather than just looking at a worksheet and try to applying it there, would really benefit my learning and my experience.
I think anything that's, hands-on learning, anything that our students can do that's not just sitting in a classroom is where we need to focus our resources.
One of our highest values in Maple Run is the opportunity to partner with families in our community to better the educational system. The schools are our community centers that are welcoming to all and not just a place of education for students. People who have been underrepresented in the past are involved, and there are representation across all 4 schools. There are education and skill building opportunities for students and families to engage with the district. There's ongoing intentional two-way communication with the school and the greater Maple Run community. This next video is an example of how we're starting to achieve this goal.
I've been in the past 11 BFA theater productions. We have one of the better auditoriums in the area, and we have a really good department.
I love performing in the PAC. It is a great opportunity to play in such a beautiful space. Anyone from the community can come and listen to our concerts. I think one of the most rewarding parts of playing and performing for our community is definitely just having that adrenaline and to be able to make people laugh and to really just relax and enjoy themselves. It not only makes us feel like we are professional musicians, but we are also representing Mr. Bushy and the entire BFA school, and we want to do a great job doing that.
We run at this school the Operation Happiness Project. It's essentially a food drive. All of the kids get involved in what we're doing, some a little bit more than others, but it is a time where we get to see kids genuinely enjoying the work that they're doing, because they don't really realize or think that it's schoolwork. They really believe that they're helping their community, and I think anytime you can help make your community a better place, it allows you to feel better and allows you to buy in more to what you're doing at school.
We really have a lot of resources that teach us how to help with the community and how to really impact the people around us in the best way possible.
Our vision for achieving the goal of community education and action on inclusion is that all students at all schools have meaningful, structured, and consistent education and skill building regarding equity. They know about and are ready to go out into the world beyond Franklin County and Vermont and have the life skills and understanding to take advantage of diverse options. There are pathways to include families in the wider community in education and skill building.
I go to State Tech. I'm in the social justice group in 8th grade. Social justice is a club that makes people hopefully feel more welcome at our school. It's very important for schools to have groups like this because we're working towards this being a very inclusive school for everybody.
I feel so welcome by faculty and by students, and overall it's just been a great experience academically, socially, in the fine arts, in athletics, everything above and beyond.
Hi, I'm Martha Gagne, Business Manager for the Maple Run Unified School District. The proposed expenditure budget for the 2024-2025 school year for Maple Run is $76,232,411. This represents an estimated spending per weighted student of $14,278. This is actually about $20 less from the current year weighted student. This breakdown shows where the various costs are accounted for. About 76% of our total budget is for salary and benefits costs for our 584 employees. 5% is for contracted services. 12% goes to tuition, transportation, and property services. 5% for supplies and equipment, and another 2% for dues, fees, and debt service. This slide shows the expense in a different format, basically by cost centers. As you can see on this slide, the majority of our budget is for instruction K through 12 of $21,549,026, with all the various cost centers totaling the $76,232,411. Once we have a board-adopted budget, we can calculate estimated tax rate. We start with our proposed expenditure budget that was approved by the board of $76,232,411. From that, we subtract out our local revenues, which include items such as interest income, tuition, grants, and etc. We're estimating that figure to be $19,025,059. That leaves us the remaining amount of the education spending amount of $57,207,352. This is the amount that comes from the education fund in Montpelier. We take the education spending amount and divide it by the MRUSD long-term weighted average daily membership, which is our weighted student count of 4,006.72. This gives us our education spending per weighted student of the $14,278. We then take that figure and divide it by the property dollar equivalent yield, which at this time is $9,452, which gives us our estimated education homestead tax rate of $1.43. This slide shows what our education tax rate has been prior to common level of appraisal adjustments since we merged in 2017. Our FY25 estimated tax rate is actually 6 cents less than our highest tax rate since our merger, which was at $1.49. Once we apply the common level of appraisal, which is a mechanism to bring every homestead tax liability to market value, we can compare from the prior year. We start with our estimated education tax rate of $1.43. And for St. Albans City, we adjust it by the common level of appraisal by 64.01% to come to a $2.23 tax rate. For St. Albans Town, the adjusted CLA of 79.72% gives us a tax rate of $1.79. And for Fairfield Town, the adjusted CLA of 109.2% gives us a tax rate of $1.31. As you can see on this slide, the education tax rate increase is responsible for a $68 increase per $100,000 homestead value. Remaining increase is based on the town's assessed home values compared to fair market value. The estimated homestead tax rate impact for St. Albans City, including the common level of appraisal adjustment. This chart gives you a sample of what the estimated impact will be based on your home value. On a $200,000 home, the estimated impact is going to be about $647. The estimated homestead tax rate impact for St. Albans Town, including the common level of appraisal, is shown in this chart. For a $200,000 home, the estimated impact is about $475, keeping in mind that this is not adjusted for income sensitivity. And with Fairfield, the estimated homestead tax rate impact for a $200,000 home is estimated to be around $500. This chart shows what the education tax liability may be calculated based on your household income. If less than $128,000, you may be eligible for property tax credit based on your household income.
So we'd like to take a minute here to explain the items that will be on the ballot on town meeting day. The first article that's on the ballot is for the district clerk. This is for a 3-year term for Anna Bordeaux seeking re-election. Article 2 is the district treasurer, and this again is for a 3-year term, and Amanda Forbes is seeking re-election. Article 3 is the election of 4 of our Maple Run Board of Directors. There's one that's an elect at large by the legal voters of Maple Run, 1 director from the town of Fairfield for 3 years. The second is to elect at large by the legal voters of Maple Run, 1 director from St. Albans Town for 3 years. And the last one is to elect at large by the legal voters of Maple Run, 2 directors from St. Albans City for 3 years. Article 4 is to elect at large by the legal voters of Maple Run one director from St. Albans Town for the remaining 1 year of a 3-year term. Article 5 reads, shall the legal voters of Maple Run Unified School District number 57 authorize the Board of Directors to borrow money not in excess of anticipated revenues for the school year pursuant Title 16 VSA 562 subsection 9. This allows for interest income, allows for uninterrupted invoice processing, and reduces late fees. This will not add to your tax bill. Article 6 is a capital improvement fund. Shall the voters of Maple Run Unified School District number 57 authorize the Board of Directors to transfer the audited general fund balance of the current fiscal year to a capital reserve fund to be used for capital improvements and operations of the Maple Run Unified School District number 57. Again, this item will not add to your tax bill. Article 8 is the school budget. Shall the legal voters of Maple Run Unified School District number 57 approve the Board of Directors to expend $76,232,411, which is the amount the board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024. Those are all the items on the ballot this year.
My name is Nilda Ganella French, and I'm the chair of the Maple Run School Board. I'm here to let you know a bit about the voting process. First of all, you need to request either an early ballot or an absentee ballot. In order to do this, you may go to your city clerk or town clerk's office and request that in person, in writing, by telephone, and even by their website. The important thing to remember is you need to request an early ballot by February 28, 2024. So if you are going to do this early ballot process, you can vote at your town clerk or your city clerk's office, or as I said earlier, you can mail it in by the deadline or hand deliver it to the office, ask someone to pick it up for you. If there are issues with mobility, the city or town clerk will send 2 justice of the peace to come and do that for you. I'd like to direct you to the next slide. Vote is by Australian ballot. Vote is on Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. There are 3 polling locations. If you're a Fairfield town resident, the voting location is at the Fairfield Center School on Park Street. St. Albans City residents will vote at St. Albans City Hall on Main Street, and St. Albans town residents will vote at the Collins Pearly Sports Center on Fairfax Road. Thank you for taking the time to listen and view this presentation. Please vote. Your voice matters.
The most significant thing that makes our district special is the people. There are a large number of teachers who are former students of this particular school district, and a large number of teachers who live in the community. And so there's a tremendous love and care, I think, that runs deep in many of the faculty members that work in this school district.
So Maple Run schools have a lot of really amazing things going for them. We have done a good job at trying to put our best foot forward in the interest of everyone.
I have had such a great education here. I feel ready for what's next year.
I don't know where I would be in life if I didn't have these sort of supports and all these different opportunities.
The only way that we can continue to have those things is if we get support from our community.
Our community is really important to us, and that is why we can make things happen here.
That's great. Thank you so much. So we've looked at the video, which is a new presentation, and I believe it's either on the website or will be on the website soon, and also will be posted to social media, etc. The other thing we want to do associated with this video is to do a Q&A section if there are folks either in the room or online on the Zoom session that have any questions related to the budget process or the budget itself. If you're interested in asking a question and you're online, you can put in a message, and our assistant superintendent will be grabbing the notices and letting us know. Again, there have been other opportunities for the community to oh, I think somebody is wishing to participate in the question answer. Is that correct?
Sorry, Nilda, that was just me posting what you said in the chat.
Ah, darn. Okay, thank you for doing that. So anyway, as I was saying, there have been other opportunities to meet with some school board members who have held different sessions to help people understand the school budget. And that will be continuing to happen until the budget date. And I guess since there are no folks wanting to ask us any questions at this point, I'm going to move on unless there are any objections. Anybody on the board have any questions? Any of our guests have any questions? No. Okay. Who's that?
Jack, Fredo.
Hey, Jack.
How are you, Nelda? Been
Good,
50
thank you.
years since we've been here, right? Maybe
That's
more.
right.
What do you want? What's the student population now compared?
Mister, could you go up to the mic?
Or Aaron's good.
Aaron's good.
Aaron's good. Just so they can hear you better online.
I wanted to know what's the student count? From everything I hear, it's going down all over the state, correct or incorrect?
I believe that you're generally correct, but I don't have the numbers at my fingertips. I used to be able to do this, but I can't do it anymore because there's too many schools. Who would have that information in the room?
Nilda, I can address that, Nilda, if you'd like. It's Bill.
Thank you.
So Jack, we currently have around 2,700 students. I'd have to get out my notes to get you the exact number. It's around 27 to 2750. Our enrollment has been pretty much flat for the past 6-7 years. You're right, the state has been going down. I actually moved from a district that was dropping very greatly, losing 1, 2, 3% students every year. That's happening in the state, but we're staying very stable, and our demographic projections for the next 10 years is to stay about exactly where we're at. From our we have a group that we work with to project student enrollment.
So is there going to be a need to build?
Well, if we get an influx of students, we will, because our schools are pretty much maxed out for a number of students in them right now, or maxed out with our size.
So one of the things you see happening like in the city is they're planning on a whole bunch of housing.
Yep.
And that's going to bring in students.
Hopefully.
And then we're going to be looking at building.
Maybe. I mean, we have to see what happens with the enrollment at that point. I don't have any projections on the building, that particular complexes that they're looking at right now. I know the folks that we work with that do the demographic projections look at housing starts and permits that are in our 3 towns, as well as regionally. The problem is in New England, the region of New England, just not Vermont, is really losing population.
I just think, I'm not here to criticize the budget or anything because I was on this board for many years and it's like an impossible situation. You're 14-something thousand bucks a student you know, I don't see where the solution is. It seems like every time the legislature gets involved, things go up. We find that in the town with all the mandates we get and no money to back it up. I just don't see where this is gonna end. I mean, I hope for you guys' sake this goes through. I was on the board once when it went down. And I think it was 2 or 3 votes before we got a budget, and we were several $100,000 less than we needed, but that's all I had to say.
Thanks, Jack.
Yep, thank you, Nelda.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to add? Okay, I'm gonna move on then. Next item is item 6. It's the consent agenda. We have 2 items on that, the approval of the minutes and a media packet. Anyone have any requests to pull any of those out for specific review? Hearing none, we're going to consider the consent agenda accepted without objection. Items. What's that?
Yeah, someone's watch what's going on.
Okay. I guess I don't know what just happened, but there wasn't a streaker, right? I heard that happen at the Super Bowl, but I missed it. Reports to the board. We have the student board representative report. There's a few representatives, and who's ready to speak?
Hi everyone, I'm Jacoby Soder. I'm a sophomore from BFA. So SBC has been working on creating a mission and vision statement, and right now we have a draft mission and vision statement that I'm going to read to you all. Our draft mission statement is the Student Voice Committee will vocalize students' perspectives throughout the Maple Run Unified School District with an equitable, inclusive, and adaptive approach. Our vision statement is to create a space within the Maple Run Unified School District where students actively work to enrich our community. And that really ties into all the work that we're doing with the design committee, and we're still very committed to the work that's happening with the 5 board goals, and then also to the outreach that we're doing with the middle schools. We plan to have another meeting with the student leadership teams across the district in March. And we are continuing to work with Up for Learning, which is a nonprofit organization in the state of Vermont. Not only with our own SBC goals, but we're going to try and incorporate other groups in that as well.
Yes, I think I mentioned last time, just as a little update, that we were not at a standstill, but kind of in the new year, and now we're really getting going with a lot of stuff. And some more exciting things, and I think the vision and mission, like we were talking about, kind of not only can we put those in that website I was telling you all about, but we're gonna try and adopt some like ethic codes and kind of really model what the board looks like, and almost creating like our own little board in the school, which is really fun for us at least, and kind of almost changing the culture of BFA, and kind of making we're really entertaining the idea that we can have more of a government type of like changing and policy, and really getting into that sort of stuff that a lot of other schools in the state do, a lot of outside, you know, that we don't quite, not that we don't have a sort of government at BFA, but something that can be more prevalent, not only, again, like we said, through BFA, but through the entire district, which is exciting because we'll see a lot more changes that are needed that is student driven, so we're excited.
Yeah. And having the mission and vision statement helps us define what we want our role to be, and it's really like including all students from across the district to ensure that we have as much representation as possible to make the most effective change.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Do you have specific goals in what in the culture you want to change, or is that covered in?
Our goals are really focused on the student perspectives of the 5 district goals. So we're planning on sending out surveys based on like restorative practices feedback, classroom feedback. That's pretty much at BFA, but we're hoping that we can get those across the district. And just start with that research part of it. Like what we're doing now, how is that affecting the students? Is it positive, is it negative, is there not really any effect? And then what can we brainstorm and what can we talk about and use some of the grant money we have access to make sure that the students have access to the goals that are being passed, and that the goals that are ultimately written are written from the student perspective. So that's our primary goal right now, is to just get the students involved in the goal process.
I think the goal is so
That's great.
broad because our goal is to change a whole understanding of what's going on, and so I think we're still in our little starting phase, which is crazy because like I was saying it's been 3 years and we're still blossoming.
We're building the structure as we go.
Yeah. Any
That's
other
great.
questions?
Anyone else? Anyone else have any questions for the students?
I guess the only question that I would have would be just if you need something from us, to please make sure that you continue to communicate if we can support in any way.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you again, students, for your report. Next item is the winter student data. And Bill, who's going to present that?
John Muldoon will be doing that.
Thank you. John, you have the floor.
I'll just reiterate something I've said many times before. It's always very hard to go after our student representatives. So this is a little bit shorter than previous data presentations, and this is actually the first time we've done the middle of the year. So for many of our data points, we capture snapshots in December and January, but actually not for all all of those points. Hold on. Just realized what I'm actually doing isn't being shared up there. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. So one piece of feedback we did get after the first time we shared data this winter or this fall was that it would be helpful if we put the glossary of key terms up at the start. So we have lots of acronyms that we use, and I actually tried to go through the slideshow and turn many of them into the full words, but then actually we ended, there's in some slides, and you'll see, I think you maybe remember from the fall, there's so many of them that appear next to each other that it just ends up taking up too much space. So I'm sorry, but my attempt to give this to you in advance is just to hopefully ground us in some of these common terms, and then it comes again at the end. But at any point, if there is an acronym or a term that anybody wants me to clarify, please just interrupt. So there are a couple of key pieces before we get started. This was some of the data that we had going into this school year, and it's good just to ground ourselves in it. We had very low attendance. 44% of the students met our attendance criteria at the end of last year. We had a really fragmented system for collecting behavior data across all of our different schools, and there was a key priority to align that so we could collect reliable data to measure the health of the system across all our schools. And we had a high number of students that were multiple grade levels behind in both math and literacy. And there was high level of variability across all of our schools as we really saw the effects of the pandemic take different forms of whether we were looking at math and literacy. The real positive, though, was that consistently students have communicated to us that they feel like their well-being is important when they're at school, they feel safe in school, and the sense of belonging in our school communities has consistently been reported at high levels. And as Alexis shared with us at the start of the year, percentile ranks for all of these are very high for all of our schools. So that's a relative source of strength we have going into this year.
There are a couple key things just to point out, and I'll just say these are areas where we have lots of effort underway in all of our schools, and these contexts have been shifting dramatically from the beginning of the pandemic until now. Initially due to the impact of the pandemic, and now due to the lingering effects of that and the really Herculean efforts of staff members in these different areas. So I would say really the only constant with these contexts is that they are not constant. This is just a refresher. We did set out at the start of the year with several objectives and key results and success measures to guide our efforts coming into this year. The first was to build a supportive school culture of high expectations for behavior, engagement, and academics. And the second is to build a guaranteed and viable curriculum with a concentrated focus on literacy. And related to all of these, we have very specific action steps, these key results that are listed on the right side of the slide that talk about the specific things we're going to do that will help bring us closer to achieving that objective. These ones are for the high expectations, and here we have the key results related to the guaranteed and viable curriculum. We've spent a ton of time talking about the individual, or not a ton, we've referenced all these individual pieces before, so I won't go into too deep a detail unless anybody wants me to come back to them later. As part of this exercise, we set these success measures, how we're going to measure our success, and I just wanted to come back and reference these. They span the spectrum from looking for positive response rates on surveys about professional learning to metrics for measuring attendance, behavior, and student achievement in math, literacy, and on our SEL surveys. And then we have some procedural pieces about measuring some of the structures or evaluating some of the structures that we've set up to help us do this work. And then the last thing before I dive into the actual data that we have right now, there are just some nuances to the data itself. So the big one that I just want to emphasize again, the academic assessments that we're using in literacy and math are what we call progressive assessments. We talked a little bit about the difference in the fall between a static assessment where we're just measuring against the same level of benchmarks, like a 5th grade benchmark is a 5th grade benchmark, and a progressive assessment, which is measures effectiveness against where students should be in the beginning of 5th grade, and then where we would expect them to be in the middle, and then again at the end. So the easiest way to understand this is a progressive assessment starts with the beginning of 5th grade for a 5th grade student and measures where they are against those benchmarks. And then in the middle of the year, if a student is on track to learn a full year's worth of content, they would show at relatively the same point. Or the way that we'll present the data is if we look at class or grade levels or schools, if 50% of students are on grade level in the fall and the class is on track to learn a year's worth of literacy related material, you would expect in the winter snapshot, 50% of the class would still be on grade level, right? They're on track to learn about a year. So progressive assessments are typically more rigorous than those static assessments, and that's just a little bit of the nuance when we consider when we talk about the data. The other piece that I'll just emphasize again, many of the programs related to these data pieces are new. So when we're looking at some of the practices we've asked educators to change or embrace in math and literacy, there's been a big learning curve to all of these. That said, I'm sorry, I had one more slide before I actually show you the real data. Where the data comes from, so I've created a series of tables where I have the goal on the left and what that actually means. So for attendance, on track for attendance means on track for 9 or fewer absences in a year. That data is pulled out of PowerSchool. For behavior, we're looking for on track to mean 4 majors or less, and the distinction that's important for here is if students continue to reoffend with minors, that can turn into a major, so it's just an important distinction. For literacy, it's percentage of students on grade level, and we have 2 different universal screeners that we're using and benchmark assessments that we're using at the different levels in the schools. And in math, same thing, we're using iReady, K-8, and IXL up at the high school. For SEL, which we don't have a winter assessment for, we're using a survey, a specific question in the survey we give students. So if we take a look at the actual data we have, the fall data that we started with is in the left column. And then the winter data is that we've just captured is in the middle column. And you can see the difference on the far right. So we've dropped from in attendance. Our goal is 70%. We started the year with 60% of kids on track for attendance, and we're at 49% right now, so we've dropped 11 points. For behavior, we've stayed relatively consistent. We've gone from 78% to 77% meeting expectations. And in literacy, we've had a tremendous victory. So we've gone from 31 and 17% of kids on grade level, depending on which grade bands and assessments you're looking at, to 38 and 28%, which represents increases of 7 and 11 points. That represents beating that curve I was talking about in the progressive assessment. So this means that kids are actually on track to learn more than 1 year of material in literacy, excuse me, as measured by those assessments. That's actually like +7 and +11 might not sound like a lot, but to beat the curve by that much in the winter is actually a huge milestone. And really speaks to the incredible efforts of our students and our staff members. I'm sorry.
I got it.
It might not be loud over there, but I keep getting distracted by the noise in the hallway. And then in math, we have similar level of success. So in our K-8 grade bands, we're going from 13% of students on grade level to 27% for a gain of 14 points. And at the high school, we've gone from 3 to 5% for a gain of 2. So again, seeing pretty significant jumps in achievement in different areas. I'll go into a little bit more detail. One thing that we have started doing this year at the request of the board is talking about where there are statistically significant differences in the data across the district. And I have a fun kind of fact or finding that we've developed after going through this exercise twice now. But I'm going to save that for a minute, see if anyone can guess. So for attendance is a good example. So right now we're at 49% of students on track to meet expectations. The only school that had a statistically significant difference from that performance was Fairfield. They had 58% of students on track, and you can see the number there is in green, and it's in the top half of the box. That means it's statistically significant, and they are outperforming the district. If you go down to the behavior metric, we're at 77% for the district. The only school that had a statistically significant difference was City School, and that is at 64%. So that's not in green, that's black, it's in the bottom part of the box. That means the difference is an underperformance compared to the district. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but you'll see here on this page that really that pattern repeats itself. Fairfield outperforming, and City has some areas where it has been statistically significant on the other side. We've also, responding actually to requests from the board, have been measuring the statistically significant difference in performance related to some of our subgroups. So you can see these groups here. Again, it's the same theme. If it's in the bottom half of the box and in black, those are differences to the negative. If they're in the top half of the box and green, there are differences to the positive. And so you can see no statistically significant differences to the positive for this one. Okay, I did promise everybody a fun fact. I actually don't know that it's a fun fact. That might be a little bit of a mislabeling by myself. But there is a correlation between this data set looking at the populations, subgroups and populations performance, and when we look at the schools. And that is in every single one of these areas that we're measuring performance, our students who qualify for free and reduced lunch have a statistically significant underperformance compared to their peers. this is a national phenomena and a statewide phenomena. It is a Maple Run phenomena. And we can see that play out in all of our schools, but also when we look at the performance of our individual schools and the percentage of their students that qualify for free and reduced lunch. It is important to note, actually, if we come back here, you may remember there were more differences on this in the fall. So quite a few of the schools have really narrowed the differences between them, which I think reflects the efforts of teachers to collaborate across schools as we've adopted these new programs and processes. And these differences, even between the schools that are still here, are shrinking rapidly. So I think that really is a testament to the efforts of the teachers and the coordination that they've been investing in across all our buildings. Last but not least, there were some reflections from working with the leadership team that I wanted to share out on. The big one really is the huge initial progress in literacy and math. To see that big of a jump that quickly is very uncommon in the adoption of new programs. One thing I will say is, you may remember we had staff members piloting some of these changes last year across the district, and we have actually seen the biggest gains in student groups from teachers who've been working with these new programs for 2 years, which I think is a real positive signal of what is to come across the whole district as teachers have more time and more experience working with these new tools. And then the other big piece that I just want to bring everyone's attention back to is that attendance is the primary predictor for many of our other metrics. And you may remember earlier in the year, we reported that it felt like that kind of upside down pyramid of student need that we've been dealing with was turning back around because we saw attendance really leading the way in a positive direction. We are obviously not happy to see attendance drop so much from the fall. Although I say that with a giant asterisk because every year that we've had attendance data, and this is a phenomenon across all schools, is a winter slump related to attendance and students on track for attendance. So the vast majority of student and staff absences happen during the winter because there are holidays that coincide with when families might be taking vacation, and then of course because of the increase in illness that we see across schools at that time. So our hope is that this reflects more of that winter slump that we typically see and that we can get back on track quickly. So I'm happy to take any questions or to go back to review any part of what I've shared.
I have a question.
Sure thing, Nilda.
So your fun fact, was that a surprise?
I don't think it's surprising to at least not to any of us on the leadership team or the different data teams working across the district. I think that, I don't think, this is really the first time that we've built this kind of reliable and valid data set that would allow us to go into the data and start slicing it this way to kind of confirm what national and state data has always told us and see that reflected here in our own schools.
Thank you. I have another question related to that. So, how do you designate the population that is in the free and reduced lunch category, since they're no longer filling out applications to get free and reduced meals and all that kind of stuff? How do you know that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it is a challenge because we have universal meals right now, so there's not a lot of pressure to get the meals for students and families to fill out those forms. I will say schools did an incredible job this year of really pushing those forms out and really asking parents to fill them out and making the case for why. That said, actually, historically and even to this day, the vast majority of our students who qualify for free and reduced lunch are actually directly certified through the state and outside agencies that are providing services already to them, and we don't actually need to collect that data internally.
And John, can you just, I want to follow up with Milda's because people might be wondering this. We've talked about with the board before, our free and reduced lunch has changed quite a bit.
Yes.
Do you remember any of those percentages and some of our changes? I know I'm asking you something I didn't prep you with.
Yes. So if everyone's willing to be charitable with my recollection, so where the trends that we see with free and reduced lunch in the district, I'm actually not going to quote the exact percentages, so you don't have to be charitable. I just don't want to say them and be wrong. We've seen a pretty remarkable decrease in the percentage of students at Fairfield Center School that qualify for free and reduced lunch. We've seen a pretty remarkable increase in the number of students who qualify at City, Town, and BFA/NCTC.
In some cases, doubling, over double what we had.
Yeah, so say the town school has seen the highest percentage increase. We have more than doubled the percentage of the population at SATEC that qualify for free and reduced lunch. Which is everybody is seeing those numbers creep up across the state, or almost everybody, but that kind of increase is uncommon. And I will say, tied to that, it's not a metric that we have here, but what we are also seeing is a huge and kind of unprecedented increase in the percentage of students who are homeless.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions for John?
I just was wondering if we could maybe do more communication about attendance. I think maybe something came home at the beginning of the year talking about attendance, but maybe just explaining. Because I think, throughout the pandemic, we had the messaging like stay home if you're sick.
Yep.
And I know I was surprised when one of my kids had COVID and the nurse said, no, if they don't have symptoms, send them back. So maybe just reiterating attendance is linked to academic outcomes. If you can take a vacation when there's vacations, please do. And our sick policy has gone back to the way it was.
Yeah, so that's a great point, and I should have said this earlier. So every one of our principals, we just met earlier this week to unpack this data, and they're going back to their school leadership teams to unpack their local data and talk about where they need to take action. And I can tell you, every principal left the room with attendance first and foremost on their mind. So I think that if you have children in our schools, you can definitely expect to see communication about that coming out soon. And I think we would welcome any help that board members or other community members could give us in talking about the importance of education. It's the primary predictor for performance for us when we look at that those metrics that I shared with you.
I can vouch for BFA. Recently Ms. Rico now has this whole system that if you are not at school and it's not an excused absence, you get a call home your first period and your last period of the day. So parents are really kept in the loop in the past. I think it's a pretty new addition within the past probably 2 or 3 weeks. So parents are really kept in the loop now, especially at BFA attendance-wise.
Good. Great.
Go ahead, Josh.
Thank you.
Would it be accurate to say that this is what we're in the middle of what is basically our second, what passes as normal year post-pandemic?
So I would say we're in the middle of the second year without enormous disruption due to protocols related to the pandemic. But what we still see spikes of kids that are out where it's reported that they or staff members are testing positive for COVID. And last year, actually, I think Phil could speak to this better than me, but operationally that was a bigger concern. But we still have days where, due to staff absence, it is extremely hard to staff our schools.
So we're still not really normal. We're just post-pandemic.
Right, so I'll jump in here. We're going to be post-pandemic for another 5 years, is what most superintendents are talking about. We are not going back to a normal that we saw before.
Yeah, I
well, no, but people use that. They use the word normal and think, okay, it's going to be like that. I don't think it's ever going to be like that. I think we've reset. Just one instance, and I'm not putting any qualifier on it, but there's a new definition of what sick means to people. I've been battling an illness for the past couple of weeks, and the way yesterday I had to leave a meeting, and probably shouldn't have been there, where before the pandemic, I would have been sitting there through it.
Yep.
So we have new definitions in our society that we didn't have before.
Great. Thank you for that report. If no one else has questions or comments related to that, and then move on.
There's a couple more here, Nilda.
Okay.
Thanks. So John, this is, something that we talked about briefly, I think the last time that you went over some of this information, especially around attendance and just really making sure that we are educating families in the preschool and kindergarten and figuring out ways to increase engagement at those levels, because that's where it begins. And I know that when we talked about some focus points and funding points, that money was kind of shifted away from there and put, in other places. And I just feel like all too often we spend our money on fixes instead of on prevention. And so if we can really make sure that we are focusing efforts in those ages, I really feel like that's where the habits begin, right?
Yep. I mean, I can vouch for that, and I will say there's a huge effort in our early grades to reinvent the way that we respond to students and families when things come up. That really is more of a prevention first mindset, and you could say that about attendance or literacy or math or any of the observable pieces that we're looking at. So, point well taken.
Thank you.
I think Bill mentioned in a previous meeting that this next year will start where all the schools will have the same vacation schedules and holiday schedules. And if that does happen, are we expecting a more positive attendance score with that, with teachers not being conflicted?
I think it'll be more on staff attendance than it will be on student attendance. From the staff that I know that live in another district and we're not in alignment, and the pressures that puts on them when they have young kids at home and who can take it. So I think that's going to help. That was an agreement the superintendents we've made, and we're finishing out that piece of the calendar right now, but to make sure that we really have tight alignment down to the day, which we don't this current year.
I have another question, if no one else does.
I've got one in a minute.
Okay, go ahead. I'll do mine
So
after.
I should know this, but I'm not sure. Is preschool mandatory? It's mandatory that we offer it. It's not mandatory that kids send their kids, though.
That's right. So
Neither
we
is kindergarten.
offer.
Pardon?
Neither is kindergarten.
Okay, that was my. Same with kindergarten. Not mandatory, so they're not considered truant if they don't go to kindergarten.
It's not
So I'm not the truant expert, but
I will tell you that it's I would have to look at the age. I want to make sure I have the age right in the law, but it's generally what would be considered first grade. I just can't remember if it's 6 or 7 in the
Okay.
law. And I'm sorry, I can't quote that.
That's right.
So
I'm just
committed to memory.
that creates even more of a challenge if parents aren't necessarily engaged. And I'm going to say, especially for people that didn't necessarily go to preschool or kindergarten, and now have kids that, it's a big deal. Gonna keep them home.
Right.
That's all. That's all.
So my question's kind of related to attendance also. Is there a consequence for truancy?
So
That's an
yes,
easy question to answer.
I would say the biggest consequence is the lack of learning.
Well,
But
yeah, but I mean,
but
that's
you're
the
thinking
obvious
about-
one.
So the schools respond, we monitor and respond to attendance data all the time, and depending on a student and family situation, the response can vary and does vary. Ultimately, this can result in court involvement, although that is, I'll let Bill speak to that.
Yeah, let's speak to that. So currently, we fill out affidavits as we're required to let the state's attorney know what's happening. Under age 12, it actually goes to educational neglect and not truancy. But either way, with the caseload that's at both the courts and the DCF, we are not seeing We rarely, I will say there's been 1 or 2 cases that have been picked up in the past 2 years, but it's very, very rare when one is picked up.
And I would imagine that would be your first choice anyhow.
No, it's our, yeah, there are several steps before we even write an affidavit to let the court system, the NDCF, know about it.
And are you obligated to?
We have a law that tells us about when we have to notify it, so many days.
Yeah.
And it's actually a county-wide protocol that's set, and we have to follow that. I know myself as a parent, I've received one for my own child, and it was, but I didn't call the principal because I knew it was a protocol that had to be followed, whether it's an excused absence or not an excused absence. We have to follow those protocols.
What are the days now?
Okay.
One
More
questions? One more, sorry.
Amanda asked what the days were. We go to an affidavit at 20, I believe. I can't remember without looking at our
10.
protocol. Is it 10? It's 10, Joanne?
10 to 15 typically
Yeah,
for
10,
a phone
15,
call or
but
meeting.
sometimes there's a 5 in some counties.
There's a 5 for typically a phone call or an email.
Yeah.
And then 10 to 15 typically for an in-person meeting, and then 20. But that's where the tricky part comes into when you're talking about how it gets documented. It's 20 unexcused absences. So that becomes a definition, an operationalized definition issue, which is where the human error, comes in. So it's not 20 absences, it's 20 unexcused absences. So if a parent calls in and says, my student's, out today, then that's an excused absence. And so it's not cut and dry. It's a very tricky situation, and it's the courts are so inundated with other things that they're not going to pick up stuff like this. They say they are, but then there's really not a lot of teeth in it.
Okay, well, good discussion, and thank you for presenting that data and giving us some of the stuff that we had asked for. Great. The next item on the agenda is for me to turn this over to Susan so she can take us through old business and forward.
Alrighty, so we're gonna move on to 8A, which is the plan for meeting board goals. And I think everyone has in their packet the 3 board goals, which are developing a robust orientation for new board members or even old board members, including student members, and an annual review of how to support all these members in understanding the roles and responsibilities of the board. The second is that the Maple Run Board will develop and implement a plan for monitoring district progress on the district's 5 goals, which is one of the things that we did tonight. And then also Maple Run Board will implement strategies to create and support respectful dialogue, a culture where all voices are welcome. So that's really that community engagement that we've been doing. And I guess what I wanted to say is, at the last meeting, we talked about people sending their requests, I'm gonna say, to NILDA in regards to board orientation, so if you have any ideas. I won't be here for the next board meeting. The next meeting, when we come back after town meeting day, will be for board reorganization. And I think it's just gonna be really important for people to think about what the plan is moving forward and kind of come up with a discussion about what the plan is moving forward in regards to those three goals. Alrighty, we're gonna move on to, unless anyone has.
That's a quick question. So as the board secretary, I was wondering, I wondered if it would be helpful, and I know that I can't directly email the group, but I could email you, and then you could forward that to the group, just in terms of the things that to keep up, for us to keep in the forefront of our mind, like making sure that we send NILDA board orientation ideas, making sure that we're looking at certain things and whatnot. Just a reminder of things that need to be seen, read, done prior to the next meeting.
I'd be glad to forward.
You're okay with that?
Oh, I'm totally fine.
Okay, would that be helpful? I guess I should ask for them, more importantly. Would that be helpful for folks, or the minutes are enough and it's redundant?
I think it would be helpful for me.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you.
Anything else? No? All right, so we're gonna move on to 8B, which is in regards to the complex agreement. It is an action item. Hopefully everyone got a chance to read through this. And so I'm gonna make the motion.
You want a motion?
Yes. We need a motion.
I'd like to move that we approve the agreement between Maple Run Unified School District and the Collins Pearly Sports Center Incorporated.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Joe. And discussion. Any discussion on this? Tim's online, so if there's any questions for Mr. Beans.
I will tell you that the comments are in overtime 0-0 up here at the Collins Pearly. Two top teams. What's that, Bill?
Basketball score yet either, so that's happening next door.
This is the two top teams in girls hockey, women's hockey, and it's 0-0 with 1 minute of overtime left. No comments.
All right, so if there's no more discussion, I'm gonna move for a vote. So Jack.
Yes.
Nilda.
Yes.
Charlie.
Yes.
Joanna.
Yes.
Carly.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Amanda.
Yes.
Susan. Yes. Jess.
Yes.
Suzanne.
Yes.
All right, so that's moved forward. 9 notes to 0. So the next item is just the budget informational meeting that's going to be held on next Wednesday, February 28th, right at BFA in the library, via Zoom at 6 p.m. I don't know if anyone has any questions about that. Hoping a lot of people will be here or online. Anything else about that?
No, that's basically what's happening.
Yeah.
I have just a question, just procedurally, is that warned as a meeting?
It's not warned as a meeting. I think Nilda and I will be there, and Brianne will be there. It's kind of usually in the past, it's a few people may have showed up.
Right.
Martha's got the night off.
I do.
Nice
Martha's got a little well-deserved time.
Yeah. Awesome.
Alrighty, moving on. Updates on Act 127, and I'm
Yep.
gonna.
No, you can throw that right over to me. So we talked last week about 2 weeks ago about H850, and it's been in the news a lot. As most of you probably saw last week, the House voted to approve H850, which is the new caps. It takes away the caps and gives pennies off the tax rate if your student population had decreased from the old way of calculating equalized students to what is weighted students. And I informed the board that we had a 3% decrease. So we'll have if this goes through, we'd have a 3 cents off this year. And at that same time that day, we calculated, I should say we, the two experts down at the other end of the table, calculated what the tax rate would be, and it's gonna be less than 1/10 of a cent different under this new proposed system than the current weighted student with the 5% cap. So and I've talked to a lot of my colleagues, and everyone kind of laughs at me because everyone else has big swings. And so we're one of the rare places we have no swing in what's the proposed to what it is right now. And so it went through the Senate very quickly this week. They actually suspended Senate rules today, and it was adopted by the Senate, and it's now on its way to the governor for signature. Written in Digger, I'm going to quote where I read this from. They were reporting that there's many reports that the governor's probably going to sign this and move it through quickly. But a lot of the quotes in Digger, and I've read this in other places too, is, and I agree with this is a drop of what needs to be done when we look at education finance overall. So that's the update of where we're at as of, I think that was like at 3:30 this afternoon they passed Senate. So usually they take 3 days to vote something through, so I was glad we suspended the rules. I don't know if people have any questions, but the bill hasn't changed since I talked to you really last time.
Alrighty, so we're gonna move on to new business. Thank you all. Oh, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
All right.
We're gonna go catch the basketball game.
Go watch some basketball, yeah.
Cheer 'em on. We will. Alright, so, moving on to new business, 9A, everyone needs to think about the upcoming organizational meeting. So that's attachments 9A, B, and maybe C. Guess it's all 9A.
It's all 9A.
So, this is the meeting where anyone that's newly elected needs to go to the town clerk. What are people that are being re-elected?
Well, even, yeah, Aaron can do it as well. It
Okay.
takes a
Even newly re-elected?
re-elected can.
Okay.
see it as well.
So
You
anyone.
said Aaron can do it?
Yeah.
Did I hear you say Aaron can do it?
Yes, that's correct. Aaron can be the signatory
Like
on it.
Aaron Smith in
Like
our.
Aaron Smith.
our guy.
Yeah, all right. Right over there on that side of the table.
Thank you.
And, so before you can vote, you need to sign off on the, what exactly is it called?
It's the oath of office.
Okay.
for- Yeah.
Yeah, so you can attend the meeting, but you can't vote unless you sign that. Okay, and then, that's the meeting, well, they'll be electing a board chair, vice chair, board clerk, and a Collins Pearly board rep. What else needs to happen in that meeting? I guess that's, everyone will sign the code of ethics for school
Yeah,
board members.
and we talk about accepting and awarding grants that the board, and how we do that. That's on the second page of this. That says
Yeah.
March 6, 2024. And then we have the code of ethics. We also authorize and award bids less than 40,000 to the superintendent, assistant superintendent, principals, directors. It's all on that piece. It's pretty well scripted, and we've used this for many years. And we assign who are the truant officers, when regular board meetings will happen, where we post our minutes and our designated newspaper, and then how we, our procedure for handling director's orders or the warrants that you do each meeting, and then our procedure for purchase orders. Usually you do this in a slate, usually everything that's after the positions on the board, usually there's a slate, someone motions to approve the slate.
Okay, all of this here.
Yeah.
All right. So that'll be on March 5th, March 6th. March 6th. So if people want to be thinking about, there's going to be some open roles on the board. So, yeah, people want to be thinking about what their role might be on the board. And now I'm going to hand it over to Nilda.
Just a quick question about how that meeting's gonna go. Do we have an opportunity at the meeting to find out who's interested in filling roles? Or would those discussions happen, like offline, or? I just wanna know before I start nominating people against their consent.
No, I think that you need to talk with people first.
Okay, so like discussions would happen outside of the meeting, and then we
Can
would
be.
come with
Yeah.
with the names of whoever we're gonna
Yeah.
nominate. Okay.
So, I guess my recommendation would be certainly before you nominate someone, talk to them about it.
I figured that would be necessary.
Yeah.
Nah, who doesn't like a surprise?
Are you asking for something?
Nilda?
I believe the person nominated can decline on the floor though, if they don't want to be nominated, even if they said yes at one point.
So,
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, and that's following Robert's rules.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And, just an add in there, certainly there's no reason why people can't talk amongst themselves as long as they're not talking to everyone at once. Meaning, as long as you're not getting together at a coffee shop and there's more than 5 votes there, and in terms of open meeting laws. You know what I mean? Like, so if you were to go to the coffee shop with 4.5 other people here, you couldn't talk about board business without violating. But 3 of you could get together.
And since we're likely to start the year with only 7 votes, or no, it would be 7.5 votes, because we have 2, unless there's writing
No one for
candidates,
Thursday.
we have 2 people who are 2 spaces that are being run for. Is the quorum number still 5?
It's still at the 5 of the number
Okay.
of votes that we have, I believe. I'd wanna go check my open meeting law, that it would be 5 versus the, versus what you're thinking is like 4.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So if Fairfield's seat didn't get filled
Yep,
on town meeting day,
right.
prior to designating someone, could I have a full vote?
I'd have to go back at the bylaws.
Okay,
to see if
thank
that's
you.
allowable. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. cool.
Never thought of it actually.
Right?
Till tonight, till you said it, so,
Just asking.
yeah.
I thought of it. I was kind of wondering how that played out, but.
Yeah, I guess I kind of feel like, I like what Nilda's saying, like, it feels, at least let's have a conversation about it, maybe, now or whatever, because I don't know that everybody knows how it runs, how it operates, how this happens. And so for new people, I think it's a little surprising to get to the meeting and people have already had conversations outside, and people are being nominated and second, and you didn't even know that was an option. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'd rather have an open dialogue about it personally, and have everybody understand what those positions entail and the roles and responsibilities are, and that anybody is welcome to to go for it, basically. And is there anybody who might be interested that wants to let people know that they're interested?
So, let's start at the top then. I mean, we can have that conversation. Is there someone interested in being board chair? Okay, I see a Nilda. Aaron, did you have your hand up? This is like when you're at an auction.
Because if you're in the town, we can start a writing campaign.
All right, so we
Can't
know
work
at least
for
one person
the district and be on the board.
interested in the board chair. What about, is anyone interested in the board vice chair position? And I guess I would say if you are, let other people know.
Are these voted on yearly? So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
2024 we
Yeah.
vote, and
Yeah.
then 2025 we vote as well.
Yeah.
I think one thing I would add is I open the meeting to get to a chair. It's like, it's one of the, I joke about it, but it's truly for me an uncomfortable place because I don't think I should be in anything and running the board. I don't want to be perceived that way, but there's no chair. So I open the meeting and the first thing we do is, even before we go through agenda review or anything, is get a chair and then start the meeting from there.
Sure.
What exactly are the vice chair responsibilities?
So I can tell you, this past year, I've met with Bill ahead of time, and then also Nilda to plan for the board meeting. And then it really is to step in, I'm gonna say, if the chair isn't able to.
And let me just add this take it from my point of view, so I'm the superintendent, so. I use the chair and the vice chair as a way to talk to the board. I don't go out and call all of you, but if there's something going on, and I think we use more text at first just to say, hey, we need to chat. And that's usually like, I gotta tell you something that's going on, and then we'll talk about it, and is it something that really needs to be known, or does it just need to be known by the chair? And a lot of times it's just known by the chair. Like, I've got an incident going on. And then usually after those chats, sometimes they'll be like, hey, why don't you get something out to the board if you can? Or most time it's not, it's just like, I want you to know that I've got XYZ, and I don't want to go into XYZ right now, but it's just certain instances that are happening. It's kind of like, I have people that, I'll use John. John reports to me as the assistant superintendent to the superintendent. There's times you want to go and tell the boss, like, hey, I'm dealing with this. I've got it, but I'm dealing with this. And that's kind of how I think about it. Like, if I ever have in the back of my head, like, hey, I should be telling someone that's overseeing me, I go to the chair.
And did it used to be that you always met with the chair and the vice chair?
It was always the chair for many years, but I've actually been in other boards where it was the chair and the vice chair, and I actually think that works really well, that it's a three-person conversation. And I've actually think that's been a good evolution. I don't know how Nilda and Susan feel about it, but I think it's been a great evolution that we've done.
I think it's a really good idea. But
Yeah, I do too, especially with a hybrid environment, and now that, you know, there might be a lot more hybrid meetings according to what I've read in the legislature, but the good part is that there's someone in the room that can see some of the nuances or see hands raised that the person on the other end might not see, depending on where the camera's hitting. I think Susan and I worked pretty well the last, 5 months or so, collaborating and sort of dividing up the roles a little bit on who was running what part of the agenda. You guys might not think it worked very well, but.
Amanda had a
I think it
question.
did.
Amanda
I,
had.
mean, I guess this is a good starting point to discuss, but we are gonna have possibly a couple other people
Yes.
on the board too that may be
absolutely
interested, and that's something that they could
Oh, yeah.
put in front of them.
And then there's the board clerk position, which basically, what?
I said so much work.
Well, but also, like, I was the board clerk, and all I needed to do was take notes in executive session. That went nowhere, really, because we can't take notes in executive session.
There's that. There are a few documents where, especially with banking, where the clerk is
Yeah.
a special signature that's needed.
Right? And if for some reason there was not a minute taker available for a meeting that we had, then that clerk usually would take minutes, the whole minutes. That's pretty unlikely, but not impossible.
And then the Collins Purley has been Jack this past year and a half, so, or 2 years.
Oh, right.
As a representative on the Collins
Yeah.
Purley board.
So is anyone else interested in the Collins Purley board rep?
I'm not saying I'm interested, I'm just trying to
Oh, you'd like to-
understand the, not till next time. Just a reminder of what that is, that's, the board meetings are, like, once a month?
They're
or-
once a month. I believe Tim's still on here. Tim, I'm right. We've been changing them around some, but they've been usually the third Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. We go 7 to 8 a.m.
Okay.
It's an hour. And their role, as it said in the agreement, is to run the non-educational offerings that happen at Collins Purley. And they oversee that work. Where this board has the ownership of the facility and the operations of all the educational offerings, including co-curricular activities up there.
Alrighty. Any other discussion? So I'm gonna move on to 9B, which is the SATEC principle. I'm gonna hand that over to you.
Yes. In your packet, you'll see a letter from Angela Stebbins, and I forwarded this to you about a week ago, but I thought it was nice to do in a meeting. Angela unfortunately can't be with us tonight, and we're going to invite her to come to another meeting, and hopefully in April or late March. She's a little under the weather tonight, so we will have her come, and you can duly recognize her then. And I kind of missed that for today, but she and I talked, and we said let's just still want to present the letter. We are going into a hiring process that we've used, similar to what you see us use either for BFA or City School or Fairfield. I think the position's getting posted tonight or tomorrow morning. And then we'll start meeting with the community, the students, the parents, and the staff to see what qualities they want to see in a principal. We'll develop a hiring committee from that, probably about 10 to 12 people. And after we get some resumes back, usually about 3 to 4 weeks, we'll start first round interviews, which will be highly confidential, because there's sometimes people are looking at making a change in their career, but they're in leadership positions, so if it doesn't stay very confidential, it can actually hurt that they'll probably pull out. And it's something that's just really respectful of them. We'll get down to probably 2, and then in the second round, we have half-day visits where they come to and meet the community, time with community members, parents, staff, visit classes, time with kids. Anyone that meets with them, we do these feedback forms. I bring you a recommendation to the board. I don't think I've used this process. I remember being a teacher in this process, and I remember being a curriculum director running this process for a superintendent, and I probably this same process has been there like 15, 20 years. And I can't remember a time that the candidate didn't appear out of everyone's feedback that was different than what went to the board. It's really like, if it isn't a match with the community, the candidate is gonna have a tough time. I will tell you, when there isn't a match and we don't have a candidate that makes a match, I have gone to interims and other places, but it's really gotta be a fit. And I know that for myself. People ask me about being here in St. Albans, and I said, it fits me. That's the way I feel, so it's gotta be a fit. That's the process that we're gonna go through. Our goal is to have it done by the second board meeting in April. If we can do it faster, we will. But we want a thorough process, not a rush process. We invite all of you to be part of those community forums and come and give us information if you have things you think we're looking for in SATEC, but I think I know we're gonna get some great attributes from everyone involved. That's what I have.
Alrighty, so other business. First I wanted to say thank you to Leanne Wright for having us here tonight. Good, thank you very much. And now I'm looking for a motion to approve the warrants, acknowledging that passage of this motion will act as authorization and signature of any individual board members participating remotely. Charlie, thank you.
So moved.
Okay. And
whatever.
Yeah, thank you, Nilda, for your second. All right, so I'm gonna take a roll vote. Jack?
Yes.
Nilda?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Joanna? Yes. Carly?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Susan is a yes. Jess?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
All right, so. And now, Nilda, I think I'm turning it over to you maybe?
Sure.
Superintendent's report.
Before we get to the superintendent's report, though, I just wanted to take a minute to thank David Bray and Susan Magnan for their service on the school board. It's not, it doesn't go without a lot of time commitment and reading, and I'm sure, Dave will be the first person to tell you that there's a lot of learning involved in the whole process, and it's a continuous process. Personally, Susan has been a great help to me this last year, and we're going to miss her on the board because of her unique questioning, which I really like. And I just wanted to say a personal thank you, and I also just for everyone, I want to thank everyone else for their participation on the board, because everybody has been great and really, keeping up on their materials and doing their best to understand the budget finance world in this crazy system that we have. So thank you for that. And Bill, I'm going to turn over to the superintendent's report.
Well, thank you, Nelda. That was very kind words that you said, and I would echo those as well to David and to Susan. I really appreciate both of you serving on this board. You both ask great questions, challenging at times, but I think that's a good thing. A board should be challenging. It should be questioning and understanding to have full understanding. That's the role of the board. So. As you've probably seen, if you're reading your VSBA announcements, February is School Board Recognition Month. So I want to thank everyone that serves on the board. And one of the things I wanted to give you is it's the least I can do is to give you a little certificate of recognition. So I'm handing these out.
Gold star.
Gold star, that's right. But at least to say thank you. And I'm sorry they're not quite in order. You can thumb through them. I think I got them. And Jack and Nilda, I have yours here, so we'll get them to you.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you.
But no, in all seriousness, I said this in my editorial that was published in the paper, and I said it here on the video, and you hear yourself on video, and you're like, oh, let's redo that again. But this is an excellent team. I am very, very fortunate as a superintendent to work with all of you, and I say that truly, work with you. It's not for you, or I really feel it's a partnership, and that is just such a joy. And it's one of the highlights that I have coming to work every day, and I look forward to these meetings. And people always kid me about board meetings. Especially my friends who know me, that do crazy outdoor adventures with me, and like, I'm sorry you're going to board meetings. I actually enjoyed being with those folks. They really want to see what's best for kids in their community, and that's what's such a joy to work with all of you. So thank you for the hard work you do. I know you put in many more hours than is seen by this community, so I appreciate it. Thank you. The second thing I want to tell you a little bit is about summer programming. There's been some discussion that's been going on out in the community. Just wanted to point a few things out. As you all know, we had ESSER funds for the past 3 years. Am I right, John? Is it 3? That ESSER paid for summer programs that we had in our buildings. And as we told you earlier this year, those funds were exhausted. So we had to start looking for other partners to continue to provide summer programming for students and find a more efficient way to do that. So we've been able to have a partnership with St. Albans Rec Department and the community center, the Fairfield Community Center, to increase programming at a reduced cost. And John, I may ask John for some numbers here, but it's amazing how much we're able to give 5 full days of summer programming per week with the rec center and with Black Creek at about, do you remember the numbers of the cost or how much it was reduced?
Yeah, so 5 full days of programming with our partners offsite is about 20% of the cost of us providing 4 days of half-day programming.
So we've increased the program and decreased the cost. And so that has really allowed us to do it. We've more than doubled the capacity of the rec and community center programs from last year. One of the things they didn't have last year that they do have this year is middle school programs, and those are really hard to find because it's frankly easier to find programs for kids grades 4 and under than it is for middle school. And Carly, you're an expert in this, so I should just let you go because this is your jam. You do this professionally. But so we've had really great participation and representation across with our partners, and we've actually, it's pretty equal for the St. Albans Rec program from the number of students from the city and the town that are in that. And they've been able to expand their programs quite a bit up there because of our work and participation with them as a partner. So we'll still have our 21C program at St. Albans City School as well. We don't have an enrollment projection for you quite yet. I know we have some soft numbers, but they're really soft. So we'll get you more of those later, but we're really excited about the number of kids that we'll potentially have in. Won't be exactly the same that we had in all our own programs when we were running them previously, but I don't think it's going to be a significant drop off either. So it's really quite positive. I didn't see whose hand went first.
Is this going to be the only year we do this, or are we going to continue to do this?
So this year, right now, this is in our current budget model. So we should be able to keep it going year in and year out. We put this into the local budget. So it's not grant
I just want to suggest maybe making a announcement of when the registration is going to open, like an advanced announcement, because I think a lot of people, including myself, are caught off guard as I'm sitting in the vet's waiting area looking at my phone saying, oh, registration is open, I better get on that, and then It fills up quickly when people pay for it
Yeah.
full time, and that thing just like sold out. So I guess people that are banking on that would like to some
I
kind of
had
chance
heard
to
the
get on
same
there.
scenario out in the community recently, people being kind of peeved that it all
Yeah,
just,
I gotta go to Swanton to bring my kid this
Yeah.
summer.
it had
Who's
all
been
just
going there for
evaporated in
a
that
few
one
years,
matter of hours where
Mhm.
people weren't quite aware that it was gonna happen.
And that's a surprise I don't like.
Yeah, well, it certainly makes
Yeah,
it hard,
I mean-
hard for people that
Oh, yeah.
depend on that
Yeah.
in summer, so,
I hear you. I'm just glad we're able to provide something.
yeah. My question was around the 21st Century Grant.
Yep.
Now that we see that numbers are changing for town, obviously Fairfield would not be eligible, but would town potentially be eligible for a 21st Century? Oh, so it's not
I'm
that
looking at
much
my
of an
expert right
increase.
there, and they're
No.
both.
So not that much, all right, I heard the word doubled, so I was
Not there
hopeful
yet.
that maybe.
Not there yet.
They would be there, okay.
As soon as it is, we'll be there.
And, I'm just clarifying, because I talked with John about this earlier, and I came away from my conversation with you that with the idea that these programs have been active for a couple of years. Was I mistaken in that? Or?
Yeah, so.
Go ahead.
We've always known that the ESSER funds were gonna expire, and we also knew that we had historical community partners that COVID decimated their programming. And there's not a lot of fat built into a community center or rec center, so when participation drops off, programs can die really fast. So for the past couple of years, we've been building the partnership with both the community center and the rec department and helping them scale their programs back up. And when I say helping them, it makes it sound like we're doing a lot of work. Actually, we're partnering on programming, and we've been providing funding for our kids that attend. But like the real heroes here are really Faith Cassidy at the community center in Fairfield, and Kelly Viennes at the rec in St. Albans, who have been working literally tirelessly to build these programs back. And we're just happy that we've been able to collaborate on it and get to the point where now they have a sizable capacity for kids elementary and middle school, and we're looking to continue building the capacity over time.
And I would say there's still some open slots. You told me this today. There's still some open slots at the community center in Fairfield.
Yep, so Fairfield has some open slots, and they have a pending application. They had a temporary extension of their capacity number. They have a lot of space that wasn't previously included in their license to operate with students. And so we're anticipating even more capacity up there, and we have some pending capacity. We're just waiting on a couple questions to get answered at the rec department. So rec is fully booked right now, but we're hoping to add a substantial amount of seats back into the mix as soon as possible. So my advice is, if you're interested, or if you know people in the community who are interested, sign up on both. Both centers have great websites. Sign up for their email list so you get notified.
Do they happen to have like a waiting list
They
or
do.
anything?
I'm on it.
And you're still offering, I mean, I'm assuming, maybe I shouldn't assume, are you still offering special education?
So ESY services, yes, and
okay.
we're integrating those into our
Okay.
program. Yep. That's all I have for that part. All that.
Thank you. Any questions for the superintendent? Okay, moving on to board announcements. Tim, do you have any scores?
Ended in a 0-0 tie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any board announcements?
I do.
Go ahead.
It's not an announcement, it was a suggestion. Is Erin still here? Erin is still here. Erin, I was just wondering about putting out like a blast for the grades, the alumni who have graduated maybe in the past, 5 years, who maybe not realize the fact that they have the ability to vote for the school budget. To put that out there, because if they're over 18, they
We
can.
can ask people to vote, we can't tell them.
I know.
Okay,
I know, just encouraging them to vote.
great.
You know, just student alumni, I just thought would be a nice idea to, you know, to put out there to them
Sounds
on Facebook and whatever other
And I
social
think
media.
BFA St. Albans does have an alumni page.
Yeah.
Right, I know,
Yeah,
that's
so
why
it
I'm,
could be put
yeah.
there,
So I think it'd be good to put that out there.
I have an
Okay,
exciting.
anyone else? Sorry,
I,
cut off.
I have an exciting announcement having to do with 21st Century Programs. On March 9th, Junior Iron Chef Vermont is happening at the Essex Fairgrounds, and I will be a judge.
Wow.
So I'm really excited to be there, and I invite you all to come.
And you're gonna judge well for the Maple Ryan.
I'm not allowed to
program?
judge the Burlington programs, and I'm sure they will not let me judge the Maple Run program either. But it's a really cool program that brings
awesome.
schools from all over the state to do this awesome cooking challenge. So I encourage you all to come out and check it out.
That's pretty cool.
That's great. Anyone else?
Oh, I've got one.
Go ahead.
So I think a lot of you guys know that I ski on the weekends and I work out of the Smugglers Nest Race Club. And I take out the ski meisters. There's 17 of them. I have a couple other coaches with me. They're 4 and 5-year-olds. Yeah, 17 of them. So this past weekend we got a ton of snow. And it was crazy because we had this T-bar throwdown where they had to take as many runs on the T-bar. It's a fundraiser. But the kids would fall down and you'd have to dig for them because they were so small. There he is. That's all. That's always.
That's great.
That's great.
Thank you.
I have one comment I wanted to make. I finally had the opportunity to read Emerson Lynn's editorial that he published in the Messenger, I think maybe 2 days ago. And I just thought it was fantastic. And if anybody has the opportunity to read it, it would be great. And if we could, you know, get a band of champions to do some of the work, it would even be greater. But I think he was spot on. That's all I got to say. I hope other people have read it. No comments. Okay,
I have read it. I've read
good.
all of it.
And did you think it was good? I mean, am I the
I
only
thought
one?
thought it was great. I always think his editorials are great, though.
Yeah. Yeah, he's always been sort of a friend of Franklin County school system too, even in his previous roles. Okay. Agenda for future meetings. We know what we're going to have to do at the next meeting. And Bill's going to keep us on schedule for the reports that we need to get. Anything else?
No,
There is no need.
I'll just let you know, let everyone know that the last bid award for the Esser building work that's happening this summer will be coming at that next meeting. So that's one piece of
Okay.
business. We usually try to keep it to reorganization only, but we're gonna have to award a bid so we can get the construction going. And get it done.
Thank you. No executive session needed tonight. Is there any more business to come before the board? Then we are adjourned.